Hey everyone, what is going on? So we're doing more Twilight PvP battles. Now I will be doing other battles in the Great Ultra and Master League for videos, but I did want to focus on the Twilight competition since that is the one coming up for most of us. Most of us will be playing that. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the battles. I did start off with Toxicroak. He started off with Alolan Ninetales. Now I did decide to stay in with Toxicroak because I knew that I would get the Mud Bomb off first and that would either knock him out or force him to use a shield. So he did use a shield, so I did burn up a shield, and so I do go ahead and switch into Alolan Muck now. Does a whole lot of damage to Alolan Ninetales. Alolan Ninetales does not have the bulk to be able to survive many hits, even something that it resists. That's why I personally don't use Alolan Ninetales. I'm not saying it's not good, but it's just the reason why I don't use it. Now it's his Toxicroak versus mine. I did go ahead and shield because I knew I would have a Mud Bomb, which would force him to use his last shield or either forfeit his Toxicroak. Now he does get the Mud Bomb off. It does knock me out, but I was almost knocked out anyway. I switched into Venusaur to be able to take out his Toxicroak, and then he switches into Skunk Tank, and I do have the Frenzy Plant, which I am able to do a lot of damage, even though that Skunk Tank did resist Venusaur. So Venusaur is a really solid option for this competition, and I did go ahead and get another Frenzy Plant off because Frenzy Plant does charge up fast, and we do go ahead and knock out Skunk Tank. So that is game one. We do take the victory in that game. I'm starting off with my beautiful Alolan Raticate. Now this is a really bulky Pokemon. I didn't realize how good it was until I actually invested in it. He does get off his Dark Pulse, but that's gonna do nothing, guys. Absolutely nothing to my Alolan Raticate. I do get off the Hyper Fang. It doesn't do much to Umbreon because his Umbreon is bulky, and Umbreon is bulky in general. We actually switch into Toxicroak at the same time. He does get off his Mud Bomb, but I am gonna go ahead and block, guys. You have to use a Toxicroak for this tournament. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You absolutely have to. So invest in a Toxicroak for this competition if you plan on entering. You do need a ground move. Now there's Nidoking and Nidoqueen, which get Earthquake, but they're just too slow. Mud Bomb is the way to go for Toxicroak. It charges up super fast. Yeah, you definitely need a ground move. There's also Grimer, which gets Mud Bomb, I believe, but I didn't test that out. There's also Alolan Marowak, which gets a ground move, but that's not really worth it. I don't think it's not as strong as Mud Bomb. I'd just go with Mud Bomb, much better move. We do have the Alolan Raticate knocking out that Alolan Ninetales. Do quite a bit of good damage on that Umbreon. He is going to be able to knock me out because I'm very little health, so that Dark Pulse, of course, does clean me up. But then I do go ahead and switch into Drapion, and he does get his move off first, but Dark Pulse is not going to do much at all to Drapion, and we do get off the Sludge Bomb, and that is going to be able to knock out his last Pokemon, and we do take another win. So that's another W for us, and we're moving on to yet another battle, starting off with my Venusaur. He's starting off with his Skunk Tank. Not really a good matchup for me, so I am going to go ahead and switch out to my Toxicroak. Unfortunately, I do have to switch first, and he switches into Honchkrow. You never want to switch first unless you absolutely have to, but I felt like I had to. He does knock out my Toxicroak, but his Toxicroak, but his Honchkrow is actually basically dead, so I do switch into Alolan Raticate. Now we're basically at a stalemate, doing the same amount of damage. I do get off my Hyper Fang. He doesn't block, does a decent amount of damage to that Tentacool. Does get off the Sludge Bomb, but I do go ahead and Sludge Wave, I do go ahead and block. Get off another Hyper Fang that's going to be able to knock out Tentacruel, and he does switch into his Skunk Tank, and I do get yet another Hyper Fang off, forcing him to use the last shield. So I decided to block because I knew I would get off another Hyper Fang, or at least I thought I would. And yes, we're able to get off one more Hyper Fang, and that is going to be able to knock out that Skunk Tank. So Alolan Raticate really showing off its worth. I mean, this is really good. This is a really good Pokemon. I love using it. It's really fun. I mean, look at those chubby cheeks. It's just so much fun to use. I am starting off with my Alolan Muck, switching into Toxicroak, so I do switch first, unfortunately. He, for some reason, decides to stay in with Umbreon, not doing much to Toxicroak. I decided to use that Dynamic Punch because I knew it would knock it out, or he would use a shield, and he does go ahead and forfeit the shield, so I do get an advantage in that regard. However, I do use my other shield because I knew I would be able to knock out the Umbreon and have fully charged moves for his next Pokemon, which is Toxicroak, so I do immediately get off the Mud Bomb, forcing him to use his last shield, and then because I saved up my Mud Bomb, I do actually get another one off, doing a whole lot of damage. That's why you need the ground moves, not for Toxicroak though. You need the ground moves for like Drapion, Alolan Muck, Skunk Tank, because they're only weak to ground, so you absolutely need them. And we do knock that out with Alolan Raticate getting off a Hyper Fang. He doesn't have any shields, neither do I. I don't have any shields. Now we actually did not get off a move before he got off his Sludge Wave, so that's going to knock out my Alolan Muck. Not my Alolan Muck, my Alolan Raticate, and I do switch into my Alolan Muck, that's what I meant to say, and he's going to Sludge Wave, but that's not going to be enough to take out my Pokemon, and Dark Pulse is going to clean up the game, so we do take another win for that, and yeah, so that's 3 wins in a row, so we're moving on to yet another battle. I am starting off with my good old Toxicroak. You definitely want to preserve this Pokemon if possible. He has Umbreon, so there's no need for me to switch out, because Umbreon is so bulky, I'd rather just do as much damage as possible. He does block, but there's a visual glitch and it doesn't show the shield. But I'm going to continue to do a lot. He does switch, but I do have that Mud Bomb. I think he was getting really annoyed at this point how my Mud Bombs kept on going off. He had to absolutely shield at that point. He had no choice. And I do go ahead and block. Of course, I had no choice in that regard. I do get yet another Mud Bomb off, and that's going to obviously knock out Toxicroak. Mud Bomb is so good. It charges so fast, and, you know, it's going to hit those poison types for super effective. He does knock out my Toxicroak, though. I switch into my Alolan Raticate, and he actually does get off a move first, which is Dark Pulse, but that's going to do absolutely nothing. I do get off the Crunch. I didn't mean to use anything. I was waiting to save up my charge moves, but I think I accidentally clicked on it, unfortunately, so I do go ahead and use that, but I do get off a Hyper Fang, which doing good amount of damage to that Alolan Ninetales, and he actually does get off a move. And did you see how much damage that Ice Beam did? It did not knock me out. And so that just goes to show you, we survive on a sliver of health, and Alolan Raticate is able to beat Alolan Ninetales. Now, Alolan Ninetales is not really bulky, as I said, but it does have a high attack, so it is a good Pokemon. It's still not able to knock out Alolan Raticate. Really fun. I love using Hyper Fang. It's a lot of fun. Now, it is weak to fighting, and it is weak to fairy, so you could have some problems, but there's no quick move in regards to fairy types, so, you know, it's something that I like using. He does have the Venusaur. I do have the Azumarill, and I am going to go ahead and use yet another Ice Beam. He did block the last Ice Beam. This Ice Beam is going to almost knock him out. I was actually a little surprised he didn't block that. I guess he was just sacrificing his Venusaur. I do get off the Ice Beam now. I didn't go for the Play Rough because it wasn't fully charged up, and I didn't think I would have enough time. He would have knocked me out before I did fully charge it up, and I switch into my Drapion. I do have the Sludge Bomb, and Sludge Bomb, because Umbreon is so bulky, it's not going to do as much damage as I would have hoped, but we do have yet another one, and I believe he blocks this because his Umbreon would have been almost knocked out. Yeah, he does block it. We would have knocked out Umbreon, either that move or the following move, so he does have a foul play. Taking me into the red, but still not doing a lot of damage. I do use another Sludge Bomb that's able to finish off Umbreon, and he does have Toxicroak. And my last Pokemon is the Alolan Raticate, so I do go ahead and block this Dynamic Punch, because that would have done an absolute insane amount of damage. And I do get off this Hyper Fang, and since he has no shields left, bam, Toxicroak is down to a little cute rat. I love Alolan Raticate. You know, we were joking around about it afterwards. No, I'm sorry, not with him. I was joking around with somebody on my Pokemon Go Discord about Alolan Raticate, and he's like, wow, I'm actually surprised. It's a Pokemon I never thought of. And honestly, I never thought of Alolan Raticate either until I saw that its secondary move only took 10k to invest in. It's like, you know what, let's give it a try, and I'm really liking it. But anyway, this battle starting off with Skuntank. He does have that Umbreon, which is a really, as you know, tanky Pokemon, and he does go for the last resort, and he actually gets off another move. I do go ahead and block because I do have my charge move ready to go, and I do go ahead and use that Sludge Bomb. He's not going to block it, so it doesn't take it out, but I am able to finish him off. So I do take the Pokemon lead right there. But however, I am down shields. But he does go ahead and knock out my Skuntank, and I do go ahead and switch into Drapion because Drapion is a poison type. But unfortunately, he gets off his Sludge Bomb first. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it's still annoying for that amount of damage. His Venusaur does go down, switches into a Azumarill. Now I'm hoping to get the poison move off, and I do. But of course, you guys know that he's going to block this. He has to block it at that point. And I like trying to force my opponent to waste their shields early. That's basically my strategy. So I do switch in to Toxicroak, my last Pokemon. Go ahead and go for that Mud Bomb because Mud Bomb is so fast, and he goes for his move, and I'm like, okay, this Play Rough is going to take me out. It does not take me out, so I get another Mud Bomb off, and this is going to take him out. I did not think I was going to win that match. That was a very good game. I had a lot of fun in that game. But we're moving on. We played a couple battles today. I start off with my Alolan Raticate. He starts off with his Umbreon. I just decide to keep it in, and I guess he decides the same. I do get off that Hyper Fang, a really cool move. I love that move, and a quick attack for its fast move is really fun. So I do go ahead and switch into Toxicroak, and of course that's going to do a lot of damage. So we have to pull out, and I get off my Mud Bomb on Azumarill, and he's going to take it because Azumarill is really bulky. You guys know it. I've used it in the past, and I'm going to go ahead and block this Ice Beam. That would have, because I had like charge moves ready to go anyway. That's why I decided to block. He's going to use his shield, so he did forfeit both of his shields, and I get another Mud Bomb off. Of course, this is not going to do much because Azumarill is really bulky, as you guys know. Switching to my Drapion, I decided not to shield because I didn't think it was going to do a lot of damage, and I was correct, it didn't. So I get off a Crunch, and I believe that knocks it out. Yes, it does, because it didn't have much health. He does switch into his Umbreon, and he's going to go for Foul Play, but I do block. I was expecting Last Resort, so I thought it would have knocked me out, but I do go ahead and get off that charge move and almost knocks it out. I get off yet another Crunch, and this is definitely going to knock out that Umbreon, and he does switch into Venusaur. And I do get off my Sludge Bomb, which is what I was hoping for. Does a lot of damage to that Venusaur, incredible amount of damage. Now, yeah, I'm going to get off my Crunch, and this is going to finish off Venusaur. Alolan Raticate coming through again. I love using Alolan Raticate, you know. Even if it's just for fun, it's just a lot of fun using it. I don't know why. I really like Raticate and Alolan Raticate, you know, in general, so that's why. I do start off with my Alolan Muck in this battle. He starts off with his Umbreon. I am not going to switch because it's basically a stalemate, and as I've said before, if you don't have to, you don't want to switch first. I can't emphasize that enough, guys. I decided not to block because I wanted to save my shields. I like playing conservative. I like save my shields. He doesn't block. That Gunk Shot does a whole lot of damage to that Umbreon, quite a bit of damage, and he uses Last Resort. I do decide to block that because I do have my charge moves ready to go for the next Pokemon, which is going to be his Toxicroak, and I do get off this Gunk Shock, and of course he has to block. I still would have done good damage because Toxicroak isn't the bulkiest Pokemon, and that is a powerful move, so he does have his, well, what I thought was going to be Mud Bomb, but it was actually Dynamic Punch, so I do go ahead and block there, but I get off my Mud Bomb, which is going to knock him out. I'm surprised he didn't shield there, and he does have his Azumarill, and I get off a Mud Bomb, which he's going to choose to block that one. He gets off his move, and this is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, going to knock me out. Now, I do have my Azumarill, and he uses his move. I'm like, okay, this play was definitely going to knock me out. I survive, guys. I actually survive, so I get off a Hyper Fang, and he survives, and I was going for one more Hyper Fang. If I clicked on that Crunch, I would have gotten the move before he did, I believe, and I would have won the match, but he actually, I was saving it for the Hyper Fang. I don't know why. I was just thinking, well, if I get this Hyper Fang off, Crunch isn't going to be able to knock it out because Azumarill resist it, but it would have knocked it out because it has very low HP. I wasn't thinking of that, but that's okay. That was a really fun match, so good game. He does take out my Alolan Raticate and win the match there, so now it's my Alolan Raticate versus his Alolan Ninetales. He does go ahead for the Ice Beam. I do block because Alolan Ninetales is almost done, and I do have both charge moves for the next Pokemon, and I'm going to use it. He's either going to have to give up a shield or he's going to take a lot of damage. He does give up that shield, so he does knock out Alolan Raticate. He should have given up the shield too, because that rat would have went down. Oh, it did go down quick, of course, because of the fighting moves, but I do go ahead and get off my Mud Bomb, and that Mud Bomb is going to force him into another shield. Of course, it had to. He knew at this point I had the Mud Bomb, so he had to go for it. That Dynamic Punch actually does a decent amount of damage to Venusaur, not a whole lot. I did decide to use Frenzy Plant because I thought I wouldn't have knocked him out before, you know, I got off that charge move. But he does have a Azumarill as his last Pokemon. That Frenzy Plant is going to do a whole lot of damage. He does go ahead and Ice Beam, which forces me into my final Pokemon. But we're going to be able to knock him out with Mud Bomb, and that is GG. That is definitely a good game. I had a lot of fun in that game as well. And yeah, that's going to be it for this video, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.